Danny Fuentes. Danny and Kim have been a part of the Houston Vineyard for about 2 years. And Danny, you've been on the board at Him Food Pantry for the last year. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, and so we're excited. I'm excited to have this conversation because the Him Food Pantry has been a partner of ours for years now. And in this season of pandemic, you guys have really amped up the amount of the number of people you're serving a week. So share us a little bit about the ins and outs of the food pantry and what's going on right now.
Yeah, so it's been interesting since March, since the pandemic. We've never shut our doors. It's been Thursdays, Saturdays, like clockwork. A lot has changed. We've had to kind of really pivot, move on a dime, because once the city started shutting down, we had to just drastically change the way we operated.
And you guys are seeing right now it can be anywhere between 100 and 200 people a week you guys are serving. Is that right?
Yep.
And so recently, if you guys pay attention to the Webvine at all, there's been a link in the last couple of weeks of the Webvine where you can sign up to volunteer with the food pantry. Danny, what does that look like? If we have people, because I know we have people in the church who would love to serve and are looking for ways to connect with service in the community. What does serving at the food pantry look like now in the midst of pandemic and safety protocols? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we've got volunteer opportunities a good chunk of the week, really Wednesday through Saturday, there's opportunities to volunteer. We get different food shipments in from Second Servings, Trader Joe's, and all of that has to be gone through, sorted, and really get ready for the distribution days, which are Thursday and Saturday. So, Wednesday, you could come in and sort some food in a morning shift. If you come into an afternoon shift, you might be pre-bagging all of the boxes and the bags for the Thursday distribution. So there's lots of different ways, and they keep it spread out so not everybody's there all at the same time. In the past, we had a lot more people there all at once, but now it's, hey, let's do a morning shift, an afternoon shift, and so it allows more people to come in at different times and be a little bit be flexible.
There's 4 questions that we're asking all of our ministry partners in this season, and so I'm going to run through them real quick with you as we, as a church, begin to look at what it looks like in generosity for the Advent season to connect with partners that we are already working with that have faced new challenges and that are changing their model of ministry to meet the new needs that are presenting themselves out of pandemic. And so let's start with the first one. What have been the challenges? What are the challenges that are presented in COVID and pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's just because we were so face-to-face, it was just really that social distancing aspect from the volunteers to the clients. That was one of the bigger things that was, we had really had to change the way we did business. And then also we normally did an annual fundraiser to raise a lot of our funds. But due to pandemic, we couldn't have our party with our auctions and donations and things like that. So we canceled it, but God provided, and we got more monetary donations in, that help supplement that and just kind of keep us going. So it's been quite a challenge. We've had some break-ins to the shed. We actually had two break-ins to the shed, and so we have it's an ironclad door now. So we got a brand new door, and it'd be really tough to get in there now. So. And one of the bigger challenges is, when we're partnering with the Houston Food Bank, in the past, we could order what we wanted and kind of got what we needed. But now orders are scarce. And when we do order, it's really luck of the draw. It's a mystery pallet, as we call it often. And you just don't know what might be on that pallet.
Yeah. So it just changes the whole way things operate. Mm-hmm. What have been some of the gifts? What are the things that are sort of the unexpected beauty that's coming out of the pivoting you guys have to do in pandemic?
It's just, I guess it really just shines on the community on what they've been able to do. We've got an awesome community. We're 100% donations, 100% volunteers. And so people have really stepped up to the plate. During pandemic, some people didn't necessarily work as much. And so we had a huge influx of volunteers. People didn't want to just stay at home. They wanted to help others in need. And then also with monetary donations, people realized that, hey, helping people get fed is probably a good place to put some of their money in, and they did that. So it was nice, and it's really, I mean, I couldn't imagine. There's so many volunteers that are there in week in, week out. You know, it's really a kind of a testament to them that we're still in business, because I look at it, you know, how much food we send out every day, and you know, and it's all volunteers.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Where do you see God at work? Like as you guys navigate this as a board, as you sort of navigate this, and I love your story, because you essentially sort of were looking for ways to connect in the community, and were at summer nights last year and heard about the food pantry, got connected, became a board member. But where do you see God at work in all of this?
You know, again, I think it's really just through the community. It's I myself, you know, I've got 4 small children at home, and I do my best to get there when I can. And so I think people find ways to help, and some people just don't know that there's opportunities that are, hey, I could come here once a week for an hour, and it's just down the street from my house. And really, it would mean a lot to the pantry if, you know, we got a few people that just started doing that more on a consistent basis. So,
so essentially it's this invitation into not only serving, but belonging to the community as a whole, and the benefit of the whole community.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, last thing, what are the opportunities? What do you see as opportunities for the Houston Food Bank? What do you see as the opportunities for us with partnership, as the Houston Vineyard with partnership, as we continue to sort of double down on our commitment to working together for people that are without food?
Yep. I said the number one way is going to be volunteers. It's what we always need. When we're short on the sign up sheet online, you know, somebody always comes through to help out. You know, you could have, you know, if you've got kids or you want to in the local community do a local food drive. You know, Thanksgiving's this week. A lot of people are in a really giving mood, and you know, maybe people overbought some things, and hey, there's some opportunity to feed others. You know, with us not being 100% in the church right now, you know, in a physical capacity, where we had the item of the month, you know, and doing that, if you were a regular to that, and you know, that basket's not there anymore for you to put it in, you know, you could always drive by the pantry and drop some food off. And you know, just there's a feed Frank, is it
Feed Frank? Yeah,
out there. So you know, if in the past you were in the item of the month, you know, just go by and feed Frank once a month. You know, just like you did previously. That opportunity is still there.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for this. And for us as the Houston Vineyard, I think this is a great place if you are looking for a place to serve locally, where there's deep connection with the Houston Vineyard and serving our local community in a really practical way. You can look in the Webvine. There's a link there. There'll be a permanent link for how to connect to sign up to serve. And then we are excited to see what God will continue to do as we partner together in such a practical way, and especially as needs begin to grow and continue to grow as a result of the pandemic. But Danny, thank you. It's awesome. We're so thankful that you have sort of stepped up and have, as a member of the Houston Vineyard and as a member of the board at the Him Food Pantry board. It's great to see how we get to work together to sort of be God's hands and feet, especially in this season.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Hi. Bill is the leader of the Mexico Border Partnership. And so, Bill, why don't you share a little bit with us the history of the partnership, what it looks like today, and then we'll get into our 4 questions about the pandemic and what's going on in Mexico with that. Go ahead. It's all you.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that introduction. Again, my name is Bill Laswell. I'm from the Brazosport Vineyard Church, just south of you guys. And like the Houston Vineyard, I've been involved with the Mexico Partnership from your church, which was actually initiated by your church over 20 years ago.
What are some of the challenges you see as you talk with people in Mexico, specifically around COVID and the pandemic?
Sure. Mexico has not escaped COVID-19, just like every other country in the world. And Josh, you're right, it is an equalizer. It does not play borders or politics. Over 1 million people have tested positive for COVID in the country of Mexico. Over 100,000 people have died in this country. And they operate under many restrictions from varying places and differing levels of spikes, just like we do here. So the church has had to adapt, just like we have here. And I'm really blessed to tell you that they have really strengthened in this. Over 19 of these churches are operating on Facebook and delivering what God has given them to deliver on Facebook. 3 of them are using Zoom as a platform to communicate. We even have one that's using a drive-in theater concept. So they are participating in getting the kingdom message out, but also participating. Many of their churches have become feeding locations, and they are participating in the benevolence and in the care of the community. So this is an all-encompassing focus that the church has taken on. And I want to say, they do this out of a reality that they aren't as resourced as we are. They aren't as capable, yet God is making it possible for them to participate on this level. So it's been amazing what they've done. I can tell you that we have had, I think it's 12 or 13 of our pastors have been sick with COVID. Some of them hospitalized, some of them in grave danger, but I'm glad to say all have recovered. All are participating in what God is doing at this time.
Yeah, I mean, and even with the food thing, I know that at the Houston Vineyard, we have sort of increased our giving, our commitment monthly, especially to the churches that have started feeding centers, because a little bit goes a long way and it sort of gets the ball rolling. And so it's been a great partnership with us to be able to see pastors making that switch instead of getting caught up in what they can't do, saying, what can we do? And for us to be able to come along and say, here's how we can partner with you. That's been amazing. Bill, what are some of the gifts you see? This is one of the questions I've been asking a lot, is like, there's challenges, there's a lot of things going on with COVID, but what are the gifts that you see happening or coming out of this pandemic?
I'll tell you what I'm most amazed at. I am most amazed that they have made a transition where they are, I would say, multifaceted on what they're doing in their community. They are providing food. They are moving food kitchens around to activate food kitchens. And you have to understand, Mexico is well versed at this kind of thing. So really, it kind of plays into their wheelhouse of, we can do this. So here's what I've seen. What I've seen is Mexico does not come across as a victim in this. Yeah. They come across as the people of the moment. They come across as a people who have been empowered to participate in the blessing, the reality of God in this time. So that idea that we're not afraid, we're not victims, but we are empowered to be a blessing and to provide resources, food, clothing, other things that people need in a time when unemployment there is skyrocketing, just like it is here.
Yeah. And then what do you see God doing? Like, as you talk to these pastors, as you see what's going on, and again, this is probably the longest amount of time that you've not been down there to physically spend time with them, but what do you see God doing?
I think that they, first off, we usually go down there once a month, and we have not been able to do that. Now, we were already doing a lot of Zoom, a lot of Skype, a lot of things participating. So that has continued. What I have found is I see 2 things happening with our pastors. One is I think that they really do see that this is a time that we need to be deepening who we are in Christ. They see this. The word I heard actually just yesterday was, this is calling for another level of being the people of God. It's a really powerful tone that they're taking to the world. Not only that, they are beginning to secure locations outside of their church, provided by cities and municipalities, to participate in serving and being a part of what God is doing. So they are getting favor with communities to participate in being a blessing and an outreach to the people in their communities.
And then last question, what are the opportunities you see going forward as we're still in pandemic, but as we navigate, hopefully what is the tail end of pandemic, as vaccines become available, as all these things come into play, what are the opportunities you see?
I think that initially, right now, our opportunity is, can we help to resource them? We participate in ways where we are helping to resource what they're able to do on the ground. And we often think of missions as going, but what they can do with $1 is 1,000 times more than what I can do there with $1.
Yeah.
So we have an opportunity to participate on the ground by helping to resource. In addition to that, I think that as these pastors, and I know that the country of Mexico, the government of Mexico has worked hard to really position themselves to get the kind of vaccines they need for their population. But I think there's going to be a real push, and I'm talking about a relational, communal push that's going to happen. These pastors are talking to one another with Skype, but if you know Latinos, they like it face to face, and I think they're gonna need to be resourced some to make that transition back out a reality. So I think we're going to be maybe holding on to some of the blessing God has given them to participate in their community. In addition, they're going to be stepping up who they are as a movement.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a great time for us to invest because, like you said, a little bit goes a long way, especially when we're talking about some of these. I know in Zacatecas, for example, they really have done a great job of transitioning in their church into a feeding center, but they're reaching hundreds of people a week and being able to provide on what would be really a limited budget. And so as we are able to invest in that, but then also be able to be positioned to invest in what God does on the back end of pandemic as they navigate these new realities, I think it's a great opportunity for investment. Bill, thank you. I know that you've invested years and years and years of your time to love and to care and to sort of model what partnership looks like from a mutual sacrificial and a mutual learning position. And so I thank you for that. I'm excited for what God's doing. And as a Houston Vineyard, we're excited that this partnership was actually birthed out of the Houston Vineyard, and you have stewarded it incredibly well. We're excited to still be a part of it and excited to see what God will do in the future. Thank you, Bill.
I love you guys, and I thank you that you love Mexico.
Thanks. All right. Bless you, man.
All right. Take care.